Spectacular Sunday, everyone. Hello there. Hello there. My name is Furley Almonte. I am your host for Faces of Resilience. Today, we're going to have another spectacular episode that is going to change many lives. This time, we're going to specifically, be the voice of the LGBT community. You know very well, I'm very blissfully married to my spouse Christine, and it has not been an easy journey for many of us who are looking to find a way to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. And so you know that the Faces of Resilience is all about the ways that we can empower others through the different messages that we bring. Others write books, others sing songs, write songs, others just basically speak and hold rallies, whatever it may be. But this time, I am actually very thrilled to be for the first time to meet a very, very dynamic and very talented and super smart gentleman who actually has written a novel that is going to change so many lives out there. With Donovan Russo is actually, just like what I said, a novelist. He is also an intern at this NBC Universal, and also is pursuing a master's degree in business administration at the Seton Hall University. And on his spare time, he still has time to write books. My goodness, how impressive is this? And as you can very well see, he's also very, very good looking. So welcome to the show, Donovan.
Hi, Furley. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. I met Donovan through the NJ LGBT Chamber of Commerce, where we are always finding ways to bring empowerment to the members of our community. Donovan, talk to me about the book, the title, what inspired you about it, and what it's all about.
Of course, yeah. So the way it started was last January. I was approached to be part of this creators program, right? It was by this gentleman by the name of Eric Koester. He's like this entrepreneur, professor at Georgetown University. And basically what it is for a small fee, you get access to this whole development team, copy editing team, layout team, these people who really champion you with writing a book. And you're paired up with this hybrid publisher named New Degree Press. And basically it's, whatever idea you have, they're going to support it and help you see it to fruition, right? So for me, I've been a big fan of the comic book community, comic book genre since I was 5 years old, since the original Spider-Man movie came out when I was in kindergarten, right? So I've always loved the genre. I've written a few screenplays and stuff. I've acted as a journalist for CNBC and Yahoo Finance, so I have a lot of experience when it comes to writing. So it was an opportunity for me to dabble in a different form of media, right, with books. So I said, okay, well, I want to give back to this comic book community, the superhero genre, because I absolutely love it. But I also realized too that within media, you don't see too many LGBT vigilante characters specifically, right? I mean, obviously we're seeing more and more superheroes, but the vigilante is kind of like the anti-hero street fighter. I said, okay, well, here's an opportunity for one to create something different, where because there's so much superhero content out there. Here's an opportunity for me to create something different, but also to provide more representation within the genre, right? Into a beautiful LGBTQ community, right? And also from a creative standpoint, making my character gay enabled me to dive much deeper into the protagonist's characterization of who he is and what he's dealing with internally. So the book takes place in 2009 during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell period of the military, which I'm sure, as you probably would know, it basically said that you can be gay, but if your leaders find out, you can very well get kicked out of the military. Mm-hmm. So the book takes place right from there, where my main character, Steven, Steven's War, he has a boyfriend who's also a fellow Marine. And that's kind of where the story takes off. They can't really come out about the relationship. Steven himself is very closeted, and he's kind of angry with himself that this is the way he is, that he is gay. So the story takes place from there, and it just starts to unravel. And basically, the main concept of the novel is Steven, after some things happen to him at war, then at home, he takes on this vigilante persona to try to deal and avenge his past demons, if that makes sense.
Wow. Well, first of all, when you said about the comic, I couldn't help but think about my daughter, because she's 27, and she loves going to those comic conventions and getting all dressed up because like I don't know if it's just always the child in you that never goes away, or it's also a part of you that wants to be able to step into a different character in life and be that person for that moment. In yours, in the main story of your novel, how much of Stephen actually was inspired by your own personal experiences?
Yeah, well, I think for one, as I said, I've written a few screenplays as well. There's always a part of me in any character I write, the good guys and the bad guys, right? So I think that goes for anything that anybody writes. So I think for one, when it comes to the Steven character, he's definitely, deals with anxiety. I've had, anxiety issues in the past, like so many people. So I think that's one way. Um, I think at times, we struggle to let in love. I think, we all could relate to that. And that's something that I could relate to as well. Um, and, a determination, obviously I'm not looking to take down criminals at night, but I certainly have my own goals and ambitions. And Steven in his weird way does too, just a bit different than mine. But yeah, so I think Steven as a whole, I mean, whether you're gay, straight, or whatever, this is a character that anybody could relate to because he's just trying to find inner peace with his individuality, and that's something we all could, that's something we all want, right? So,
Exactly.
hmm
Interesting how you mentioned about anxiety, and thank you for sharing that you had experienced that as well. Now, for those people who are feeling anxious, what were you feeling during that time that triggered that feeling?
well, yeah, I mean, I just think throughout, ever since I was young, right? I think when I was 1 or 2 years old, my house got broken into. It was a guy at gunpoint. It was just me, my mom home. So I think that kind of, I guess, I mean, I don't even remember it all that well, but for whatever reason, that kind of triggered this something in me that I get anxious over things. Um, yeah, but there was a time, a few years ago, where I just said I'm going to stop letting this define me, and I'm going to stop letting my anxiety take control of me, because I believe that we need to push ourselves out of our comfort zones. We need to try new things because the ultimate quest of the human experience is to continue evolving, right? And I don't mean to get so super philosophical on a Sunday morning.
Oh no, please do that. The whole idea is that, like, with Faces of Resilience, I have been wanting to interview somebody young like you because oftentimes people like us in our a little bit more golden in age, are struggling to understand how younger people think, what makes them feel stressed or anxious, how can we best relate to them. And a lot of people, say for example, somebody your age looking to get out of the closet, for instance, how do they do that to their family? And I'm sure that's like part of the reasons why people are anxious. I don't know if that's part of yours, and if it is, I would love for you to share that so you can empower many of our viewers who may be about your age and going through what you've been through.
I think for me, the biggest thing that I've had to overcome really was, you know, really embracing my anxiety and letting people in, letting my friends and family know, and not, not letting it define me, but also not pretending like it's not a part of my identity, if that makes sense. Like, I think there's such a stigma. We've seen it over the past few years where, there's the mental health stigma and more, where people are saying, yeah, well, I have issues too, in that sense. So I think for one, not being afraid to talk about it, like on a podcast or with my friends or family, saying, yeah, like this is something, yeah, I struggle with anxiety. A lot of my friends do as well. And, but, I wouldn't be able to have those conversations specifically with friends if I didn't come out about it first, saying, yeah, like, I have anxietal issues too, and I think, in the book, the Stephen character, he does deal with a bit of, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a huge, issue that tons of people in the military endure every day. So there's definitely a bit of that. And even just the pressure we put on ourselves. And, I don't really focus on this in the book in terms of social media, but I think it applies to conforming to, societal norms and societal ideals, while also trying to balance who we actually are. And that's something that the book definitely does struggle with. But I think especially during the pandemic too. I mean, everybody's so stressed out, and especially, us, college graduates, people who are about to graduate college, you're trying to find a full-time job, right? And, figuring out what are we going to do. And that's certainly, stressful as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I've done a broadcast about that because, a lot of people, not only college graduates, but people who are even in between careers, because right now a lot of people have lost jobs. And obviously, if you are a fresh grad, there are no jobs out there right now. Companies are closing. And so, one of the things that I was, actually always thinking about is that I wish when I was younger, like you, that somebody taught me about entrepreneurship, because it would have been so different, because you don't have to stay in that employee mentality. And I think it will people will also be less anxious or stressed about not finding a job if they're open to other options in their lives. You are highly creative, and I love that. And you had even mentioned that you've written screenplays. What type of screenplays have you written?
Yeah, it's funny. So I've written quite a few at this point. It's only like the last one that I'm actually proud of. The last one I've written, it's called "What's Bothering Damon King." It's basically about this guy who was sexually abused as a child by a priest, and years later the priest comes back into his life and wants to have an adult relationship with him. So that's kind of the pitch, if that's or so. And I've done about 15 drafts of that, and I'm almost done with that one. But the book has kind of taken first priority because there were obviously specific deadlines I had to reach with that.
Yes.
But I think for me, the one thing you'll find in everything I write is I really like to prioritize the characters. A lot of things, a lot of what I find is that what separates a project that works and doesn't work is it too plot focused, right? When there's a story that's too much on the plot and just getting from point A to point Z, point A to point Z, you lose touch with who the characters are and you can't relate to them. I like stories that are very character driven, people that you want to root for, want to understand. Even with the main antagonist in my book, Frank Payne, who's this hot tempered mobster dude, right? Yeah, he's still, there's still chapters that really dive into his his mentality and his psychology and the way he thinks and the pain he's endured. And one of the things I wanted to push across within the novel was that Stephen and Frank, they're not that different from each other, and it was really just one or two different decisions that kind of deterred the road for Frank, if that makes sense.
Well, I'm very, very curious. Okay, you're studying business and you've written screenplays. Obviously, you're very, very passionate about what you do, and you're very talented, because I could not imagine people writing novels, for instance, because like I have written books, but they're nonfiction, because it's inspired by stories that actually happen. Where does that imagination come from? How do you even design a character? Or because I look at when I watch movies, I say like, my goodness, it's the creative genius of the screenplay writer, is screenwriter. I did I say it correctly? The screen,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, the creative genius. How do you get all of those inspiration about even the little details? Actually, that is what blows me away. How could somebody think of that? Like it, even as a child, does your imagination run wild?
I think so. I mean, the first time I was really blown away by fiction and whatnot was, again, seeing that Spider-Man movie when I was like 5 years old, with my dad, and that kind of opened my world of what's possible and what the imagination could lead to. But in terms of like creating characters and stuff like that, I think for one, it all stems to what you observe, right? I mean, you look at any pop culture phenomenon, any movie that's worked, right? I'll use, we'll use the Spider-Man character, right? People love Spider-Man. It's exciting to see him, swing and climb on the walls and fight the bad guys. But what people are really drawn to that Peter Parker character, right? The guy who's, the alter ego. It's the high schooler trying to balance fighting crime with growing up. He's the working class hero in a lot of senses. That's what draws people to the characters, because they can relate to him. Look at Luke Skywalker, right? It's the same thing. He's a farm boy who's given this enormous responsibility to save the galaxy, right? Yeah, it's cool to see him fight Darth Vader, but at the end of the day, you can see yourself in him, and then you think, okay, well, if he could do something brilliant, and maybe I can do something brilliant too. And that goes to any character that we love, I think.
Yeah. And who's your superhero favorite?
Um, well, I'll go Spider-Man. We'll say Spider-Man.
Now, what is it about Spider-Man that actually that you can best relate to?
I think trying to juggle a billion things, because it's like I'll use last year for example, or I guess it was 2 years ago now, is when I was writing for CNBC. Really, it's which obviously they're on a national level, balancing those responsibilities with homework and tests. And it was funny because I was writing one story and about a movie, and I was actually invited to like a film premiere for it, but I couldn't go because I had an exam the next day. So it's like it kind of felt like you're dealing with, like, you're really mixing being an adult with being a kid still. If that makes sense. So I think juggling those responsibilities, that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a boring answer, but I don't. That's
No,
me.
no, I actually love it. I love it because I'm even thinking like, my goodness, like imagine you putting Steven's War on screen, like it turning into a movie. And I could just imagine, like, oh my gosh, when he was young, I actually interviewed Donovan.
Right. Well, you're really the premiere, so I mean,
I'm just like, oh my goodness, that would be so amazing when that happens, because I have friends in the like local international film festivals that I would love to be able to introduce you to.
right.
Because,
Thank you.
like, yeah, because in New York City, we have a group of people who actually hold their own international film festival. And I said, like, you will be amazing for that. And also they are in part of the LGBT community, and so why not, right? Because I love the fact that you have a different spin with a vigilante thing. That's why I said, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great way for you to actually share a different message, in a positive way, on big. Yeah, and I can't wait for this to be on a big screen.
Me too.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. Okay. First of all, where can okay, what's the title of the book? Stephen's War, you said, right?
Yes.
Now, is it available right now on Amazon? Can they buy this book right now?
Yes. Yes. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Absolutely. Go. Yes. You can get the paperback for $17.99, and then the ebook right now on Amazon is for the month of December 99 cents.
Oh my goodness. Okay, for you, just I'm already like I'm talking to all the comic book hero fans out there. 99 cents on a Kindle. That's so easy, and it's going to be an easy read. It's going to be entertaining while you're out there being locked down on quarantine. This is awesome, and hopefully, this will also inspire you to write novels, because I am sure this is not going to be the first one that Donovan is going to write about. And so how would they picture you? How can they follow you on social media?
Yeah. So on Twitter, I'm Donovan X Russo. LinkedIn, I'm Donovan Russo. Instagram, I'm Donovan Russo 27, and then Facebook, I'm Donovan Russo. So,
Yeah.
not very exciting
You have
names.
a website that has everything that you've written about, screenplays, and quite frankly, I'm putting Donovan out there also. If you are a movie producer, you gotta hook up with this guy, because he is really unbelievably talented. As you can very well see, he has a very good heart, and he also more than ever, diversity and inclusion is really very, very big, and this is a great way that we can also support the LGBT community out there. And I will, as I've said, I will introduce you to a couple of my friends who run
Thank you very much.
international film festivals, because you need to be heard, you need to be seen. And as I've said, like, okay, I'm putting it out there in the universe that you will become a big shot screenwriter, because, and I want to be thanked when you accept your award there for the Oscars. Okay.
Really, you'll be there with me. Don't worry.
Okay, we have it here, documented. He's gonna take me with
Of
him,
course.
because I was the one who manifested it, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay, you are so wise beyond your years, and I'm sure so many people young like you would love to know, if you were to share the 3 lessons that you have learned as you were writing the book, and also through your life, what would be the most life-changing lessons that you can share for people out there, maybe between 20 to 30 years old?
Yeah, well, I think the very first one that comes to mind was the difference between doing and preparing. My biggest form of preparation for writing this novel was outlining. I wrote about 4 different versions of an outline that kind of took me through, okay, well, here's what each chapter is going to be. And that was harder than actually writing the book. Because when you're writing something and just doing it, you're going to improv in your mind in ways that you never expected. And there's things in this book that I absolutely love and my favorite parts that I could have never, ever planned for. They just kind of came to me as I was writing it. So I think my first lesson would be is to just do, kind of echoing Nike's,
Just do it. Right.
Besides that, I would say, your brand is the most important thing about you. I mean, in terms of, we're all at a point where we're trying to get our careers going, right? But before you can work on somebody else's brand, you need to work on your own brand, and you need to kind of create your own image, because the way you want, you need to kind of really drive how people are going to see you, if that makes sense. And I don't mean that in a superficial way or in an insecure way. I mean that as do your best to be the best person of you, have a website, create content, go out there, get internships, get good grades, even if you're not in school, even if, you've had hard knocks, right? I mean, we've all endured stuff, still find a way to overcome it and just try your best every day. Because I think, effort is half the battle, and being able to persevere, even with this book, there was tons of moments where it was a struggle, or I had to rewrite something, or, people weren't, because, in order to get the book funded, I did a whole pre-launch campaign where I had to raise $5,000. There were days that were dark, I was uncertain, but you got to just keep going, So that's what I would say. Perseverance, create your own brand, prioritize innovating yourself, and being consistent,
Wow, my goodness, words of wisdom, my goodness. That is amazing. And as I can, from what you have shared, you have even grown as a person as you were writing your novel, Stephen's War, because, you were challenged to be
Yeah.
more. You were challenged to act, to create more. One of the things that I actually love about what you shared is that about you creating your brand, right? But beyond that brand is a legacy. And I love that you are able to actually begin creating that at such a young age. So, would you say in your growth, in your metamorphosis, what is the legacy that you are creating?
Yeah, I think for one, I just want to be somebody who can inspire others, if that makes sense, to be their best selves. Somebody, and it's funny, I've had a few people reach out to me who, I guess, heard other podcasts I was on or got their hands on a copy of the book saying, oh, this is so great that you're doing this. I can really relate to this character. That's what I want. I just want people to know that they're not alone, that there's people looking out for them. And, no matter what you are, I mean, we're all in this together. We're all living on this earth, and we gotta stick together. Especially during now this pandemic, we've seen that the importance of sticking together and looking out for your neighbors, and what the ramifications could be of if you don't respect the rules and what our government is suggesting. In terms of social distancing and all that. So I think that applies to everything in life. And I wrote this book because I wanted to provide more representation for people who haven't kind of gotten their fair share of characters, that are like them in media, and yeah, I just want to do my part to be a good guy.
And you are doing a phenomenal job. You are actually quite remarkable.
Oh,
The fact that you're even the voice of the, the youth that is basically sharing them, with a lot of people who are, feeling lonely right now, because obviously of the social restrictions, right?
right.
And here you are speaking of the wisdom and just to be compliant, because this is your life that you're saving. This is your family's life that you're saving. So what would you say to those young people there that are feeling so anxious right now because of the pandemic? They're bored as hell, and so they miss their friends so very much. What would you say to them that would change the way they're looking at things?
Oh, it's a moment in time, right? This isn't the end all be all. There's a vaccine coming out. We saw in the summertime when numbers went down, the things loosened up again. So just be patient, And nobody's saying that you can't see anybody. Nobody's saying you can't with a mask on, see a friend. You know what I mean? So it's you gotta see the bright side and everything. It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. You have to appreciate what you have, and you have to create your own opportunity too. Nothing's going to be handed to you.
You know what would be awesome? If Donovan and Russo would actually create like a weekly Zoom Zoom gathering for all of these people to inspire them to do something new, something creative, because that's what you are. The character, and even creating an avatar for yourself, and then actually writing down the different characteristics that avatar is all about and what that could become. I'm not, I'm not a novelist. I am not as creative as you are when it comes to writing. I'm only on the nonfiction, but you are definitely very, very, very inspiring, and I could not be more grateful to have you on the show. And I said, I'm putting my, you out there, filmmakers, producers, you want to reach out to Donovan, because he's full of ideas, and he is very committed. As you can very well see, he is of integrity, and he is also very, he's very committed to delivering excellence, discipline, and most of all, impact. Any last words before we close the show?
No, just thank you so much for having me on, Furley. I mean, it's the pleasure's all mine, the honor's all mine, and the best part of this journey has been being able to make new friends like you, and Joe from the chamber, and it just, it's a great honor and great privilege. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And as I'm saying, like, well, we are part of the LGBT community, and oh, by the way, it's LGBTQNS. Actually, I was part of a rally that we had it at the Bronx, and it was LGBTQS, because it's not just us, who are in the gay community, but also the straight people who love and support us and love us unconditionally, regardless, right? And so I wish you and your family, and your amazing group of friends, great success, joy, serenity, and more amazing blessings for 2021. Thank you so very much, Donovan. Remember, go out there. It's on Amazon right now. Stephen's War is the book. It will inspire you. It will awaken so many senses about you, ideas that you probably have never even thought of. So he has given you a voice.
And it's funny too.
Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. So now, obviously, and it's also very entertaining. So so don't sulk in there. Go grab the book. It's on Kindle. It's only 99 cents, for God's sake. Go get it right now. I certainly will. All right. Thank you so very much, Donovan. Have a great Christmas or any holiday you may be celebrating. And okay, for all of our viewers out there, please share this amazing interview with people that you know that can find inspiration from Donovan Russo. Okay, until then, this is Furley Almonte from Faces of Resilience. Stay well, stay grateful, and stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.